Welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, a chill podcast about games and how we play them. We're both your hosts. I'm Deanna, and this is...
And I'm David.
Yay.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, just thinking.
I was expecting more out of you, so...
Sorry.
We're going to talk about games. The few games we played.
Actually, before we do that, I just want to do the comment thing and, the call to action stuff.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to read off a comment that we got on Reddit from a listener. I'm going to mispronounce this username, so please forgive me. ZIIAOL. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go with Joa. They send us a message. Hey, Deanna and David, I'm a new listener. I wanted to say that I like that you cover subjects that are also not the mainstream. As I don't have money to buy an Elden Ring, I can at least be content with my Stardew Valley. You guys are doing a great job. Even though English is not my mother tongue, I can still understand what you are saying. So thank you, Joa. And I'm glad that you're listening. If you're still listening, I hope the audio problems that you mentioned that I replied back on Reddit have been somewhat acceptable. I know that was an old comment, unfortunately, because Reddit is kind of a dick and doesn't show me when I get chats and requests.
Really? Weird.
So it was like 2 months old, so I apologize.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how most of the games we've been playing have been either free or extremely cheap. I mean, as much as I would love to be playing like a bunch of new releases, it's not in the
cards.
Yeah, in the budget right now.
I mean, between free games, cheap games, and also just like the fact that we have a lot of games saved up in our Steam libraries.
Yeah, and Epic.
And Epic, yeah. Epic always gives, the free games. And actually, that's one of the games I'll be talking about today.
Yeah, I think I try to look at Epic every week to see what the free game is, even if I'm, maybe I'm not interested in it, just to make sure I don't miss anything, because sometimes they do give out really good things.
Yeah, and actually it's funny because the last 3 weeks, I've downloaded the games that they've given us, if you will.
Yeah.
And I just finished one. I haven't 100% completed it, which it's such a short and easy game, I probably will. And I have done that before on certain games.
I don't tend to 100% many games. I think actually the last time I 100%ed a game was an Epic game. They gave away Saints Row, the new one, that was
highly
disliked.
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't like that, and I didn't play it on day one, obviously, because I got it for free on Epic. But I actually loved it, so I don't know.
And you actually 100%ed it, because that sounds like it's a big game.
Yeah, I did. I don't remember how long it took, but I did all the quests, I did all the missions. I basically filled out the map with everything you could do. I loved it. I don't know. The game was really fun. There was a lot of fun new mechanics. Like, this one had like what is this? Like a wingsuit added. So like you could zoom around the city really fast. And I don't know, between the story, I think was interesting for me, because I know a lot of people, that's one of the things they didn't like. Like, oh, who are these new characters? And they're so cringy and I don't like them. And yeah, some of them are cringy, but like, to be honest, the characters from the old Saint Row games were also cringy, so I don't see the big deal. They're just different cringy characters, and I'm kind of happy to see something different than just the ever-evolving stories of Gat and the Saints from the other place. I don't know. I liked Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 4, but it was nice to have a change of pace with different characters.
The only thing I remember, and this is if I'm remembering correctly at all, was that people were, I guess, upset about the cringiness of the characters being like, complaining about like student loans or something.
I mean...
Which is weird because like that's a lot of stuff people are dealing with anyways, so I don't understand why that would be...
I don't remember how many characters complained about that necessarily. I think the biggest thing was just constantly rent. And yeah, cost of living, because everyone had their own like jobs and stuff, and...
How many people were living in the apartment? You had you and like
4.
2. Okay.
So it's you and 3 others, and they all like represented it. Did they represent different gangs? At least 2 of them did. I don't know if the third guy did. But,
different gangs, but somehow were okay with each other. Or was that like...
And that was kind of the interesting part of the story, where they're like, "Oh, we're friends. Yeah, we're." It's not like a I don't want to say Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, but like, yeah, like these people who had just happened to be in a separate gang, they're just living together because they're also friends, and it makes for funny, dumb moments, and it was fine. And like the story wasn't anything like, it wasn't some grand epic where I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to see what happens, but like it was just fun and dumb. One of my favorite parts was like one of the characters was like part of this LARP group, so live action role play.
Oh yeah.
And like, instead of being like, when you think of a LARPing, you probably think of like, you know, people dressing up as knights.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah. Their LARP was kind of more like Mad Max. So like everyone would go onto the desert and they would put all this cardboard stuff on their cars to make it look like Mad Max vehicles, and they would theme, like some of them would theme them around different mythological creatures, and one of them was like the sandworm, right?
Oh, okay, from Dune.
Well, just sandworms in general.
Do sandworms come from anything besides Dune, or was that kind of like...
That's a discussion for another day, sweetie.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, it was so funny because you would have to go, you went to get like your cardboard box outfit, right? And it's like, wait, it's just so dumb looking. It's like, I think they were literally like behind some like convenience store just picking out boxes and just making the junkiest looking outfits.
I mean, it's good to recycle.
And they would like role play, and when you were in these sections with the LARPing role play, instead of using your regular guns, you would have like, I guess like, it's not paintball, like airsoft guns or something. And they would be making noises like pew, pew, pew. And every time you shoot somebody and they would die, they would make like, they would cry out. Like, yeah, it was all like, it's still the same game mechanics, but all the audio was changed to RP mode.
Oh my God.
So it was really funny. Anyway, I wasn't planning on talking about Saints Row, but yeah, Saints Row I forget what it's called. I think it's just called Saints Row because companies are doing that awful thing where numbers don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
But the newest Saints Row, I think, was a lot of fun, and I got it for free on Epic, so I can't complain. I didn't even run into that many bugs either, so I know when it first came out, it probably was pretty buggy, but I had a blast with it. I loved it, and I 100%ed it.
But that's like a reason why so many people choose to not play even the really good, expensive games.
True.
Don't play them the second they come out, because there's going to be issues with them. There's going to be patches that come out to deal with said issues, and you might as well just... Because how many times has this happened? Like a billion fucking times at this point. You got Cyber 2077 or whatever.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
You got the Saints Row kerfuffle. You got No Man's Sky, Fallout. Like, it just keeps fucking happening.
Games are getting so big and so complicated that it seems it's almost impossible for a big game to come out and not be a buggy mess. Like, I think even Tears of the Kingdom had some issues. But maybe that's a Switch thing altogether. I don't know.
Yeah, because at least on the other ones, I mean, they're huge, they're complicated. And you can also argue that everyone has different PC configurations.
Yeah.
And that's just an absolute mess to try and deal with.
Even on consoles, though, these games were having issues.
I guess. But at least, like, I feel like at least the consoles themselves, and I say this as someone who loves playing PC games almost exclusively, at least the consoles are somewhat standardized.
Yeah.
But I did not expect you to bring up Saints Row when I was talking about 100% completion, because that just seems like a really big game. But for me, something small like the game I'm going to talk about today, which I'll just say now is Toem.
Go ahead and let's just get into it.
But also other small one that I did actually 100% complete was Alba, I think it was called. It was like you were playing as the little girl. And she lived on this island, and they're trying to build like this tourist hotel bullshit on what I assume is protected wildlife land and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was easy to 100% because it was just doing a few small, easy quests and photographing every species of animal. So like, it's a small game. It's easy to 100%. So yes, fine. I'll go first. So again, this was... 2 or 3 weeks ago by the time this episode comes out. It's Toem, a photo adventure. I don't know how many people know, but I guess you could count it kind of like an indie game, although the credits did seem to go on for a while. I'm not sure how much of that was like Patreon supporters or Kickstarter supporters or something. It did seem like a medium-sized team, at least. It's this little, I guess you would, it's 3D because when you go into the photo mode, you can kind of look around completely. But it's also like what you might call 2.5D.
It's basically 3D models for the environments, 2D sprites for the characters, right?
Yeah, I guess. So it's kind of like half and half. And an interesting thing is, I don't know if this necessarily makes it easier for the not the photographers, for the artists or programmers somehow, but it's like almost completely black and white.
Oh yeah, that was something I noticed. Yeah. I haven't played
and
this,
there
by the way.
is a part where there's color, but that's for you to play the game.
Spoilers. I didn't know that.
Anyways, so I went through, and it's pretty cute. So you start off as this little creature, I guess. Like, well, because there are humans, but there's also creatures, and you don't look like a human. You look like a puppet, muppet, whatever you want to call it. You're not a human.
Okay.
You start off, you get your backpack, you're going on this adventure. You live with, I guess, your grandmother. I think you call her Nana. And she gives you the camera because it's your turn to go off onto this adventure to find this thing called Toem. And you just leave the house, and I guess the first area where you live is like the tutorial setup. So you have like, eventually you'll see on your community card that keeps all your stats and stuff that this area has 3 quests that you can finish.
Mm-hmm. Can finish or have to finish?
I guess you have to do at least, I forgot, you have to get at least one quest or one stamp so that you can get a free bus ticket to the next area. But there are 2 quests you can do, and the third one comes at the end. Okay. So there's 3 total. It's really easy. Your Nana takes you over to the bus center, I guess, and you talk with I don't know what you would call them, just like not the bus operator, because they just sit there at the toll booth.
Bus driver?
No, it's not the bus driver, because the bus driver is a different creature. I don't know. You go and you talk with the bus person, and you basically, every time you go to an area, there's the bus thing. You have to do a certain number of quests and get a certain number of stamps, and once you get the minimum, that person will stamp your community book, and then you get a free ride to the next area. Okay. I don't know how else to explain this. Like, it's pretty simple. And the first area, it's interesting because you can take any kind of pictures you want from the environment, obviously, and put them in your photo album. But there's certain pictures, like if you take a picture of flies or ants or a toad or something, I think you can take an additional photo if you do want to put that in your photo album, but it'll just save, like, if you will, a free picture in the, I guess you could call it the bestiary. So you can put it's like a free picture you put in the bestiary or whatever.
Do you get like a description of the thing you take a picture of?
No, it's just the picture.
Oh, well,
so
maybe not bestiary, but that's fine, whatever. Let's continue.
It's a part of the photo album,
album, yeah.
Well, it's like you get the photo album, and then you have a page for if you keep favorites, and then there's a page for the creatures. But the photos on the creature page don't take up a slot in your album. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. Whatever.
I think so.
So I did take a couple of notes, but it's like, I'm like, oh, I should take a notes and like think about how the UI or the mechanics of the game. And my first note is just Nana's voice sounds familiar, but I couldn't figure out why.
Wait, is this game voice acted?
No, not necessarily. There's like, it's like computer modulated type of voices. It's gibberish.
Oh, like Animal Crossing?
Sort of, I guess. Like
Banjo-Kazooie?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's weird that Nana's voice, her fake gibberish voice sounded familiar, but I just could not place it. And it kind of, not bothered me, but I was like thinking about it for a while, and then I went off to play the rest of the game, and everyone's voices are a little bit different. It's interesting too, because in certain areas, even though it's gibberish, you can almost feel like an inflection of an accent or something. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but... And not everyone has an inflection of an accent or anything, but whatever. Most of the game is pretty simple. Like, this is not a hard game. This is, children could play this easily, but it's enjoyable. But there was one part where you get to this, I guess I can explain it without spoiling it. You get to this lighthouse and you have to help the lightkeeper, but it's a lighthouse, but it's not a lighthouse, because instead of the light, you help to try and guide the boats back by like doing a big old honk on this, like, it looks like one of those big old honk horns. And it's kind of silly. It doesn't really make sense. But the thing is that the lightkeeper guy was telling me, oh, I need you to help me to show what direction or something. And he was standing right next to the big horn. But I wanted to tell him the direction, like, okay, go left or whatever. But I had to take the zoom on my camera and like specifically look at the boats and wait for a timer to count down, and then it worked. So it was just like I was interpreting it incorrectly.
Okay.
And so like, I don't know. It took me a little while, but once I figured out that part, the rest of the game was like smooth sailing. So I don't know if somehow anyone else came across that same issue, but whatever. Then there's this part where you go to... is this the same island? Yeah, I think it's the same island, because there's like 5 or 6 different places to go. And this one with the big honk lighthouse is also on the same island as the electric plant, I guess you would say. And you go in and you see all the like workers and stuff. And I do like the workers' character designs, even though it's like super silly, stupid, easy. It's a very easy, simple design, whatever.
Sure.
Oh God, I hate explaining these things. I'm so bad at this shit.
It's okay. I mean, to be completely honest, I don't think you need to explain this isn't really a Let's Play.
I guess it's just I want to explain a game and like get people interested in it. Because whenever I'm sitting here listening to you explain something, you are much smoother at explaining a video game and what you were doing than I am.
I think that's just it's just one of those things where you feel like other people are doing things better than you. Because when I'm sitting here ranting about a game, I feel like I'm just having like a brain vomit all over the place and not really making a lot of sense either. So,
well, at least you're a bit smoother about it than I am.
I don't know, maybe people can correct me if I'm wrong here, but like, we don't really need to go too into the details of every step. Did I do that with the other games? Because, oh God, I feel bad if I did, but...
Honestly, my memory is so bad, I'm not entirely sure.
I think we just try to get the gist of it and the vibes of the game. We don't have to like...
I guess. It's a cute game.
Yeah.
It's a simple game. Children can play this, but adults can enjoy this if you're not like one of those super sweaty, salty gamers that has to have an epic adventure for everything.
Oh God, you're talking about me.
Yeah, but you don't seem to take it that seriously.
Well, I will say this.
Like, I guess you can get into lore stuff. I've done that before.
When I saw this was free on Epic, I immediately thought, oh wow, this is such a Deanna game.
That doesn't seem that bad.
I don't think it wasn't a game that I'm like, I can't wait to play it, because I haven't played it. And do I want to play it? I don't know.
So you don't like cute, simple games?
I think the thing is, though, for me, there's just so many games out there. It's tough to be like, I want to play this, I want to play this. So Toem looks cute, but it's going to be way at the bottom of the list of...
See, okay, this is obviously going to be a difference between us two.
Yeah.
But like... there are so many games, so wouldn't it make sense to be able to get through more games, because I basically beat this game in less than 5 hours.
And that's great.
And then I can move on to the next one, and that's more games I can go through and enjoy, but you're like, I have to play this one game for like 500 fucking hours.
But that's another way of experience a big grand adventure of progress. And even like, for example, I'm not going to get into it too much this week because God, I've talked about it enough. But for like Pokemon Ash and Frost, like, yeah, I'm like 22 hours into it, but each one of those hours is still as eventful and important on that gameplay journey, I guess you could say. So sure, I'm not experiencing 3 different games, 3 different stories, but I'm experiencing 3 different games worth of content, 3 different games worth of story and character development. So I don't feel bad about like, oh no, I didn't play 3 different games. I played one game for 20 hours. Because that still feels
like,
fine
I know,
to me.
I'm not saying that playing one game and enjoying the whole game is bad. It's just you complain about so many games, but then you go through so few games because you're spending
Because I
100
like the
hours.
long games. I do like the long games. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying we have different tastes. But that's what's good about this, because you can talk about these games, and I can see these games on Epic when they're free and be like, oh, that's a Deanna game.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. At least you know what kind of games I'm into.
Because, yeah, the other two were that mouse game and the bear game. And again, I look at those and I'm like, oh, those are Deanna games.
I guess. It's just, I don't know.
It's tough.
It's much easier, and maybe this is my ADHD. It's much easier to go through a quick game, enjoy the quick story, and then being able to move on. Because while I have played longer games like Red Dead Redemption, and I fucking enjoyed playing that game, at least as Arthur, even at the end I was like, please, can this just be fucking over already?
Yeah, I think the tough thing about that, because I liked Red Dead 2 as well, but I also liked, for example, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, when I was done with that, I was sad. I was like, oh, I want more. Red Dead Redemption 2, when I was done with that, I was like, oh my god, finally. It's just different.
Now, was that because, like, okay, I guess I just said that, like, even playing as Arthur, I was like, please, can this just end already? And maybe that was because I saw what was going to happen to Arthur anyways.
Yeah,
but
those last few moments of...
Yeah, but then for the game to continue after Arthur was probably what really strained me.
Yeah, that epilogue I thought would be shorter, but the epilogue just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
Yeah.
It's wow. But
oh god, it's like the... what's the battery bunny?
Energizer Bunny.
Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going like, oh, please
But
just
I will
fucking
say,
die.
like, after... Even though we felt so exhausted playing through that game at the end, like, in retrospect, I mean, story-wise, it was good to see, like, oh, what happens to John? And, like, he's trying to get his life back together, having a regular job, and just playing as a regular job instead of, like, Murder Simulator.
I mean, that's fair.
And then when
But
you're
also,
building the house and, like, all these character moments.
yeah, building the house was good because of Uncle. But maybe that part of the story makes more sense and is more enjoyed by people that actually played the first game.
I didn't play the first game. Well, I mean, yeah, you're probably right, but I didn't play the first game, and I enjoyed it. Like, just after everything, to be like, we're having a normal life. I'm going to take my wife to the city, and we're going to have our pictures taken, and just all this stuff. It was nice, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, as you're playing through it, because you've been playing so much, it does feel like, okay, I'm kind of just, I want to be done. It's a weird, it's
and then
a weird
it's also
mixed
just
emotion.
because there's other characters that I probably would have wanted to play as more than John, because it was just, again, this is probably plays into the fact of people who have played the first game, but John was just a kid. I mean, he's a cute little kid, right?
John is not a kid.
Wait, who is...
John Marston. He was an adult throughout the whole story.
Oh, I'm getting confused then. Ah, fuck. Then who is the little kid? Is that who?
I forget the name of his son, but at the end of Red Dead 1, you can actually play as him. So yeah, technically, eventually you can play him if you play through the first game, but...
Okay, I fucked that up. Never mind then. But still, okay, even so, I think I still... Maybe this is me. I would have rather played as Sadie. She seemed more interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think a lot of people felt that way too. Sadie was an interesting character, and well, yeah, it's funny how we suddenly started talking about Red Dead.
Yeah.
But because you were talking about how I play long games.
Yes.
And yeah, I do, I guess. I don't know. I just like getting lost in a big world, and yeah, even in Red Dead, like, the world itself was a fun thing to explore, to just get on your horse and ride around, look at animals, take pictures. And then that was kind of like for Breath of the Wild as well. You could kind of do that with your camera, take pictures of the animals and everything, and have like a little encyclopedia that you're building. Anyway, so yeah, we have different tastes, and that's okay.
Yeah,
and that's the good thing about this, like, when we talk about it, because if I was making a show by myself, it would be like, well, I'm going to talk about, I don't know, this one game for 7 episodes.
I mean, I'm sure someone would actually listen to that, though, because there's the live streamers or YouTubers, even the one you watch, all he does is play fucking Fallout. Yes, it's different types of Fallout, but it's still the same game.
No,
or
I mean...
other YouTubers that only played Skyrim or something.
To be fair to him, he plays a bunch of other stuff. I don't watch that other stuff because I don't care about that other stuff.
Okay, so maybe you're the weird one.
Yeah.
You'll watch him play the same game 7 different times. I don't know how you do it.
Well, if we're going to talk about it, I will talk about Fallout and the different ways you can play it. Yeah, because you can play normal Fallout. You can play Fallout with Frost, and that changes the game. You can play Fallout with Sim Settlements, and that completely changes the game. Or you can play Fallout London, and that completely changes the game. So yeah. I mean, I think it's just kind of reductive to be like, oh, you're playing the same game over and over again. When I think it's good that people can take a long game and play it in different ways. Like, how many times have you played through Skyrim and never even finished it?
Yeah, I know. But that's not even I don't know. Because if I'm thinking back to games that I've played hundreds of hours in, I guess it would be American Truck Simulator. And I know it's its own weird kind of thing. But I guess it helps a little bit if I'm just driving down the roads, doing deliveries and listening to a podcast or the radio or something. Somehow that makes it a little bit different. But then my most played game is RimWorld. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the same game, but at the same time with so many different mods. And even just the game vanilla wise, it's a story generator. So everything's randomized. You could even say games like Fallout and Skyrim are story generators when you experience random moments in the game. I mean, yes, but if you're doing the same quests over...
You're not always doing the same quests.
Well, if you got the mod, sure, but if you're playing the base game with mods that don't change the quest, then yes, it is the same quest for 5 playthroughs.
Yeah, but that's not really what we're doing.
Is that not how the other YouTuber... Because I could have sworn it was
No. They're all different playthroughs with different variables and mods and stuff.
Okay. I see we're gonna I don't know. I just look over and I see Fallout.
Well, you see Fallout, so
I
yeah.
see New Vegas,
I mean, when I look over and watching you play RimWorld, I just see RimWorld. I'm like, well, she's gathering farming stuff again, and oh, there's these animals again, and there's the traders again.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm just saying, let's not be reductive to each other's games.
Okay.
Tell you what, I am playing something else new, sort of. I mean, I just started it, but...
Oh, yeah, I did look over and see... What was it, Legend of Zelda 2?
Zelda 2 Remastered. Yeah, it's a fan game, but it's basically Zelda 2 Link's Adventure for the NES. Remastered, widescreen, it's still the same sprites and everything. There's some new details in the backgrounds, it looks slightly nicer, and there's some isn't the right word. There's a lot of new stuff, but imagine Zelda 2, but remade with more things to explore. For anyone who hasn't played Zelda 2, it's honestly one of my favorite Zeldas, which I know is probably weird to a lot of people, but...
Is it because it's the kind of side-scrolling thing?
It's the side-scrolling
or that it
one.
Switches?
It does. It has an overworld map, so that's the top-down version, but most of the action is in the side-scrolling sections. And one of the things I really liked about it, even in the old game, was that the world felt so big. You have this big world map and tons of towns and continents to traverse and an ocean to cross. It felt like a big adventure. Whereas a lot of the Zelda games, think A Link to the Past, that's a very local, tiny area you're exploring. Even Ocarina of Time. Sure, you got the Hyrule Field, but when you think about it, that's still a pretty small little area you're adventuring through, right?
Yeah, it seems more not even a full country, maybe a county or something.
Yeah. Whereas Zelda 2 Link's Adventure, the world is really, really big. You have to go through caves to get through different parts of the continent, to get to this desert, into the desert palace, and it feels really big with the way the world map is set up, and I really like that adventure. But one of the other things I really like about it too was in this game there's a lot of cool magic that Link can use, and I feel for some reason Legend of Zelda has kind of just dropped magic as a thing. In Ocarina of Time, the only spells you got were that weird fireball thing and then a teleport spell.
I mean, you kind of used magic to do the swirl.
Yeah, I mean, that uses the magic power, but it's not a spell, right?
I guess not. They make it look like one.
Whereas in this game, you have very utilitarian spells. Like, you have a spell that ups your defense. You have some healing magic. You have a traversal spell where you turn into a fairy and you can float around. You have a really powerful lightning spell that's just offensive. You have a fireball spell. It's like Link feels more like a spell sword in this game, and I really love that archetype. I mean,
fair.
When I play Skyrim, I always play as a spell sword. Half melee, half magic, and I love that. And this is one of the few games where Link just has a bunch of cool magic to be able to use, and it's kind of like, instead of like carrying a bunch of different tools, he just has a bunch of different spells. And I find that really fun, and I wish...
So they didn't even bring that back for Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom?
Well, I can't speak for Tears of the Kingdom, but yeah, even in Breath of the Wild, the most magic you get was like you'd find the rods, right? And that was a thing in A Link to the Past and the DS game that was basically A Link to the Past 2. I forget the name of it. That one was really good because, yeah, you would find the fire rod and the ice rod, and you can upgrade them. And for half the game, I was just like shooting a bunch of like fire pillars. It was really cool. But anyway, back to Link 2, or Zelda 2 Link's Adventure. This has different areas that were not in the base game. So one example is like just north of the starting castle where Zelda is sleeping, there's this little patch of grass that has an all-new section with these 3 moblins guarding like a heart container. And even heart containers, that's not a thing that was in the old one, right?
Oh, so you have a different way of increasing your hearts?
In the original game, you would find... I think you started with 4 heart segments and could get up to 8. I don't remember the exact number, what the max health was.
You bought them, right? Or something? Or
no,
experience points?
You would find them in the world.
Oh.
But now, because the world has been expanded so much, it's changed into heart containers. So, like, you find 3 to up 1. Which sounds kind of like a downgrade, honestly. But it just means there's so much more to explore. You do get XP in this game, which is also an interesting change, because the XP, you would up your defense and up your magic casting ability. I think technically what it does is like it makes magic casting cheaper. And the last option to upgrade when you level up would be like up your attack. So it's like an RPG. It's an action RPG in a way that none of the other Zelda games are. Because in the other Zelda games, you don't level up, you don't get XP, right? But, so yeah, I've been playing this remake. I've finished the first castle yesterday, the Desert Palace. I found enough heart containers to up my hearts by 1. I'm just going to say hearts, even though on the UI they look like squares. This is the only Zelda game that does that, actually, come to think of it. But,
I know I played a little bit of it, but I don't remember super details about it.
Yeah, this was way back when we tried doing a YouTube thing. It's like...
Oopsies.
What did we call that series?
Try this.
Yeah. You would make me play games, and I would make you play games. And one of the games I made you play was Zelda 2, and you got so frustrated that you couldn't even finish an hour of playing.
I'm sorry.
So I ended up playing like the last half hour of that. If you want to go see on YouTube.
Yeah, technically it's still up on our channel.
Yeah.
If you want to see terrible plays of me attempting old ass games and being frustrated by movement controls. Because I know I also tried, although I don't know if it's on the YouTube, playing the first Zelda, and I just could not get used to the controls.
The first Zelda is really...
super archaic.
It's so clunky because you can stab. He doesn't swing his sword, he stabs, but you can only stab in 4 directions. So you have a lot of blind spots.
Yeah.
They fixed that with A Link to the Past, where he finally swings his sword in like an arc. It's easier to hit things. Zelda 2, because it's a 2D game, you only stab forward, and I guess it's slightly less bad, but it's still pretty hard because his sword is tiny.
Yeah.
But it would really create these interesting moments where you were like having these duels with certain enemies, because you do have like your regular like Octoroks and little slimes, and some of the moblins can be pretty easy to kill, but sometimes you run into like Stalfos or the Armor Knights, and like you have to have
the knights.
Yeah, you have to have like a proper little duel with them, and like raise or lower your shield depending on where they're stabbing, and you would have to watch their shield and like, you know, try to get around the defenses, and it was really fun. I really like it. Anyway, it's Zelda 2, but with a lot more. So I won't get too deep into it because I haven't really played that much of it yet, but they do change a lot. Like even in the first palace, like there's new sections where like you take the little elevator and you go up and outside of the castle and you're on top of it.
Is there a specific name to this fan game so that other people can look it up, or?
You can literally just Google Zelda 2 Remastered.
Oh, okay.
And I think that should be the first link. It's an itch.io game.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of fan games that I guess I want to be playing, at least for now, while I'm being in my cheapo mode.
Actually, that does remind me, I do have a lot of games on itch.io. I call it itch.io. You say, I guess. And
I actually not really sure what it is. I don't use that site very often, so I'm not entirely sure what it is. Yeah, me neither.
But there was actually a fan game on there. I think I got it through like a game pack for donating to a certain cause. And,
oh yeah.
It was like a fan game of Lupin the Third and Zenigata or something.
Oh wow. Okay.
It looks like the art looks really cute. I forgot if it's in the game, if it's the same type of art, or if it's just like the logo design or whatever.
No, that sounds really interesting. You should definitely play that. I would love to hear more about that.
So, okay, I'll try and give that a shot. But yeah, they have like so many games. It's crazy. And a lot of them can be free too. A lot of them are also paid, but like probably less than $5. Like it's like Steam, but for more indie stuff and maybe not as much asset flips. I don't know. Maybe there are. I'm sure there are asset flips, but I don't know. It just feels different.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm going to keep playing this Zelda 2 Remaster and Pokemon Ash and Frost.
Yeah, I'm going to try and 100% Toem. And because it's just, oh my god, some of the character designs are really cute. Like there's this, on the first island that you travel to, you find this guy and he's looking for his sock. And you have to like go around and do other quests, and then you get 2 socks, and then you bring him the 2 socks, and he's like, oh, these look like my socks, but there's an extra one, so you can have it. And then you can wear the sock as an item, and it's like a wet, soggy sock, so every time you walk around, you just hear... It's kind of funny, like, I don't know. And then there's one spot where you get up to this bear bouncer, and he's like, you have to be swag to get into here. And I just had I had the one additional soggy sock. What else did I have? I think I had a cap from the kids' camp adventure thing I finished. And I might have had one other thing, I don't remember. And it's just, you have this swag to get into the club, but it's all this mismatched shit. Mm-hmm. It's just silly. And then he's like, yeah, you got the swag, you can come in. And then you go in, and it's just all these bears dancing around to a DJ.
Yeah. And
it's just like, it's ridiculous, it's cute. There's one part when you get to the mountains and you find a Yeti, and the Yeti is very fluffy. He's aware that he's very fluffy. And he's like, I want to see more fluffy things. So you go to a different part of the mountain, and there's like these little fluffy dogs. And they have the small little dog sound. So I basically equate them to Pomeranians. Mm-hmm. And there's just like a little herd of Pomeranian dogs. And you go through and they're just all like, yip, 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 on the mountainside. So you take a picture of them. You take it back to the Yeti. And the Yeti's like, oh, it's so fluffy. I want one. And then when you come back later, it actually has one of the little dogs, and it dressed it up as like a little princess.
Oh my goodness.
It's so freaking cute. Like, I just can't get over how adorable this game is. And the sock guy that I mentioned earlier, he is a sock guy, as in his character is a sock puppet. Oh. Like, he is a sock puppet and he lost his sock.
Okay.
And then there's like this one part, you go to this house and this angry skeleton character runs out and he's all upset and he's like, I can't live here anymore. And it's just ghosts are living there and you have to like help the ghosts. And there's one main ghost and he keeps saying, ghosts have always been in the background. It's time for other people to help the ghosts. So every time you go to a new area, I'm assuming you have to help all the ghosts that you come across, and I'm assuming part of the 100% completion is once I help all the ghosts in all the other areas, I go back to the main ghost and hopefully he says something new. I guess we'll see.
He'll move on to the afterlife.
I hope so, because all the other ghosts I've helped have done that, so It's just, I don't know. It's super cute.
It's a cute game. I know, sweetie.
And maybe I want to draw.
It's a perfect game for you.
Yeah, I know. And it's great because, like, another good thing with short games is I can not do gaming the entire week, and the night before I'll be like, oh shit, I gotta get something for this podcast, and then I just beat this game in like 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to view the podcast as like work. I mean, we can always talk about other things.
It's just I have things going on. I want to try and do art things. I got the crochet thing, and then I'm like, oh shit,
news.
I gotta.
We can talk about news. Actually, there is one thing I wanted to talk about.
Really? Because I haven't seen anything much besides the Nintendo shit, so.
Yeah, I know. Like, you don't really keep up on game stuff. It's fine. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, sort of, I try not to get too negative, but remakes and remasters. And I guess these both count as remakes. But 2 games I want to talk about. Again, it's kind of this thing where we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast where we're just playing free games and cheap games. So... As much as
going to be Silent Hill.
Yeah, as much as I really, really, really want to get the Silent Hill remake, I'm probably not going to for a while because, I mean, it's probably like $60 or $70, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But I do really want, now that I think about it, would love to play the remake with you to see your reaction to the story and to see how, like, you experience the story in this new way that it's being told with the new voice actors and new motion acting and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And see if it impacts you the same way it did to me way back in the day playing the PS2 original.
That might be a little hard though, because we've watched plenty of YouTube videos where it's like going into like the psychology and all the deep
don't worry
stuff.
about that stuff. I'm worried about the story and how the story is.
I know, but now those things are going to influence me when I think about it, so.
That's fine. I still want it. I mean, for anyone who's played Silent Hill 2, I think you know what I'm going to reference here, and I won't like spoil it, but the very end of the game where the letter read, that's what I want to see your reaction to, and you don't know about that.
Nope.
So,
I mean, I guess that's fair. Between
everything building up to that and like everything that happens and then the letter read, it's just like bam, like wow, what an ending. It's kind of like The Last of Us. One of the things I was looking forward to was, because I played the game, you never played the game, so you experienced it the first time through the show, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
So it was interesting to see how you would react to everything and how different everything would be, and how we could still be affected in kind of the same way, right? So when the ending of that show happened, and I guess minor spoilers, but like she basically asks him, "Hey, are you telling me the truth?" And he just says, "Yes." And then she just says, okay. And it just ends. And it's like, holy shit. That it could not have ended in a better way. Like that was the perfect way to end that story.
Now, is that how the game ended too?
Exactly like that.
Okay.
Which is why I was curious, are they going to do that for the show? Because it was so, I don't know, it was just so powerful and like unexpected. An unexpected way to end the story. Because a lot of people probably are going to be like, oh, they're going to go home and they're going to live happily ever after. And I want to see, like the things end in a nice, happy way. But it ends with her looking at him and just being like, okay. And it's like, holy shit.
I forget if we had the discussion after that or if it was like on Reddit or something, but discussing of whether Joel was a good person or not because of that.
That's another whole thing where like a lot of times people will watch these shows or play these games and like these people can do awful things, but like you can relate to some of their decisions. And did he do the right thing? Is he a good person or a bad person? Like a lot of people, I mean, in my opinion, it's fucked up what he did. But a lot of people, they see that and be like, no, he did the right thing. This is his new daughter, blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, but that's what makes these stories interesting to talk about. And I want to do that with you for Silent Hill 2. So one day we will play that remake.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky and it'll go on sale soon.
I just want to see... It's kind of like a two win-win process for me, seeing what they changed, how everything looks in a modern way, and then seeing if the story is as powerful for someone playing through it the first time in this new modern way. Because a lot of people are going to be playing this as their first exposure to Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a lot of people that just are never going to want to play a PS2 game. It's too ugly, it's too old, it's hard to run, blah, 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 whatever the case. So this is the only way they'll ever know Silent Hill 2. And it'll be interesting to see if it's still as valid. And from all the reviews that I've seen, it's been really positively reviewed. So hopefully that's a good sign. One day maybe we will find out when I'm feeling a little more adventurous with my money. One last remake thing, though. That's probably an example of a good remake.
Oh boy, here comes the bad one.
Yeah, and maybe I'll ask you if you know of any remakes that happened that disappointed you. But
The Sims.
maybe. They're remaking Front Mission 3. They've already remade Front Mission 1 and Front Mission 2.
Yeah, you showed me a little bit of this.
So Front Mission 1 and 2 are already out. The remakes are already out. And I was never really big on the first two because I never played them as a kid. I played Front Mission 3 as a kid on the PlayStation and I loved it. It was amazing. And from everything I've seen that, yeah, most people agree that like 3 was a big step up in the series. So I was really excited to be like, I can't wait for the remake of Front Mission 3. But oh my God, yikes, they did not remake it very well. I'll just say. One of the things that I've noticed, if you watch some gameplay of Front Mission 3 for the PlayStation, it's faster for one thing. So when you're moving your mechs around, because it's a mecha strategy game. Think Final Fantasy Tactics, but instead of magic and stuff, you're in mechs.
Yep.
They're not like Gundams. They're more kind of down to earth, chunky little military robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would stomp around and move on the grid and whatever. In this game, when you're moving on the grid, it is so slow. And when it's not slow, it's doing that thing that I kind of don't like, where the mechs are just roller skating around. In Front Mission 3, when you were in the original, when you would move around, they would stomp around and go chunk, 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 chunk. And it's so satisfying to me. I wish they would keep that. Like, make the mechs run in that chunky, chunky sound instead of like the roller skates.
I wonder why they decided to do that, because even though this is a remake, you think they could have just basically copied what they had done in the first one, in the original.
Even in the original, there was an upgrade you can put on your mechs for the roller skate thing, and that would let you move like in a longer distance in a straight line. But I feel like nowadays a lot of the mecha games are just, we're just going to default to the roller skate thing because people like it or something. I don't know. That's a very minor quibble. The thing that isn't a minor quibble is the battle animations. Okay, in the original, when you like, say for example, your mech with a machine gun is going to shoot another mech, right?
Yeah.
It would stomp, 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 and then like, and you would see his arm go boom, 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 boom back because of the recoil, and when the bullets hit the other thing, it would go clank, 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 and the other mech would like recoil, and then they would counterattack, and it was so cool. On the PS1, it was just so freaking cool. And in the remake,
there's like no reaction on either side.
The animation is so bad. For the machine gun, they don't hit fire and go do 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 do. They like lift up their arm and it goes, and like there is no animation basically. The animation is he puts his arm up, it goes, the arm doesn't recoil or anything, and then you see the numbers pop up on the other mech and it's like ding. It's so unsatisfying.
I just like the GIF you showed me, or video, whatever you want to call it, and at the end it's just like,
what is that? What the fuck is that?
What the fuck was that?
You were laughing at that a lot, which surprised me, but yeah, it's just
funny. Like the reaction is just really good.
If you watch, basically if you look up Front Mission 3 remake on YouTube, you'll see a lot of people making videos, and the unanimous opinion seems to be that, yeah, everyone's like, what the heck is this? This is depressing. And it's sad because like seeing this footage makes me be like, I don't want to buy this remake. They did not do a good job. And that's just going to make me feel like, well, then Square Enix is going to be like, well, you know what? Front Mission 3 didn't sell that well, so I guess nobody cares about this game. We're not going to do anything with this series anymore.
What if we take this beloved series and we fuck it up, and then we'll be surprised that it didn't sell well, and then we'll just stop doing it?
So it's depressing because, like, it's either, do I just buy this to support the series? But then, like, they're going to be like, hey, they like this remake. We can just hire the same people to make the remake and put minimal effort into it. Yeah. Or do you just not buy it? And they're probably going to take the wrong message. Their message isn't that they learn isn't, oh, we didn't do a good enough job with the remake. It's going to be, oh, nobody cares about this series.
Yeah.
Another remake that recently came out, was it this year or last year? I don't remember. Was the Advance Wars remakes. And I kind of have the same complaints there too.
Because they turned it into like 3D, right?
Yeah, because the original Advance Wars on the GBA, it had some beautiful sprite work. And it was so snappy. And again, they had that really like chunky like battle animations that just felt so good. But now it's in 3D, like everything is so over the top and
Almost too smooth, maybe?
it just looks like toys, which I mean is weird because like in the original it was very colorful too, but somehow the sprites just looked so good, and in the remake of Advance Wars everything just looks so bubbly and plastic.
Yeah.
It's not appealing to me. And like between that, and that is also a game that had some issues with the first release with some bugs and AI issues. Between all that stuff, is like I don't really want to buy this. If I want to play Advance Wars, I just want to play the original because it looks better. It's faster. So if that game doesn't sell, does Nintendo just say, oh, look, nobody bought the new Advance Wars. Clearly nobody cares.
I mean, probably, because it feels like that's what the suits do all the fucking time.
It's so depressing to me because it's not that I don't want more Advance Wars. I just don't like what you guys did with the recent Advance Wars. So, like, how do you...
But then somehow, like, didn't they have a really bad, at least visual remake of some Final Fantasy sprite work? And they're still pushing Final Fantasy shit to this day.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the... there was a while back, there was... I forget what they called it, but they remade Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 with new high-resolution sprites, and it was very, very ugly. It was universally canned, I think. Most people were like, yeah, this is ugly as hell. What happened?
But they won't stop pushing Final Fantasy shit on us, so, like, that apparently
don't
didn't...
say it like that.
Okay, but Final Fantasy will never be final. They
Final
will just
Fantasy,
keep redoing
eventually they remade it. They did a pixel remaster, which isn't that high resolution stuff. It was just new pixel sprites. And while, yes, that looks way better than the other version they did, in my honest opinion, I still think the original versions look way better. So it's kind of tough, because, like, do I want to support them and be like, hey, maybe you should do Final Fantasy VI again? But, like, do I want them to do Final Fantasy VI again? Not in 2D, I don't think. Because if I want a 2D Final Fantasy VI, I already have the perfect version, which is the Super Nintendo version. But then, like, I can see how, oh, this new version has, like, a better, quote-unquote, better translation, even though I love the original goofy translation. Or it has, like, some game fixes for bugs, because Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo had some pretty bad bugs that could kill your cartridge. And I actually experienced that myself firsthand, which is unfortunate.
Like the whole cartridge, and like it's just no good anymore?
Yeah, for those that don't know, in Final Fantasy VI, there's a character called Realm, and her ability is to paint, because she's a little artist. So she'll look at an enemy and she'll paint them. So she puts out her brush, makes a little copy of the sprite, and then uses the enemy's attack on them. However, if you use that skill on an enemy that is invisible, there will be a bug that can, like, permanently just screw up your cartridge.
Yeesh.
Not just like, oh, it's just gonna crash, or it'll just mess up this playthrough. It will literally, like, screw up your cartridge.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Did they ever do like a, if your game cartridge gets really messed up, we'll replace it or something? Or is that not a thing that happened back in the day?
I don't think that was a thing that happened back in the day.
Oof.
So newer versions of the game don't have that bug.
I sure hope not.
Yeah, I remember when that happened to me. It, like, just changed the colors of all the sprites, and then eventually the game just didn't work.
Damn.
So
thankfully, I've never had anything that bad in any of my old games.
If they want to remake Final Fantasy VI, at this point, I think the only way I'll replay it again is if they do, like, something like they did for Final Fantasy IV, where they make it in 3D with, like, voice acting and stuff. Not that that game needs that, because it really doesn't, but at least that would be different enough for me to be like, okay, I'll play through it again. Final Fantasy VI is so beautiful, though. It's like some of the best sprite work on the Super Nintendo, which is, I guess maybe kind of cheating, because, like, a lot of those sprites don't move. Like, I remember the first time I saw it, when you first play the game, you're in these Magitech armor, right? And it's basically this little mech suit that has, like, magic attacks. Because in this world, magic is like, whoa, magic
Super
doesn't exist
special.
anymore. But these machines have, like, they found a way to use magic.
Oh.
So it, like, shoots lightning and fire and stuff. So you're stomping around in these Magitech suits, but you're in these, you're the player character sprites. So they're like short little stubby things, right? Not too far later into the game, you get attacked by these same Magitech armors because they're, you know, controlled by the Empire, the evil Empire. And when you see the Magitech armor as an enemy, they're in these like really cool, you know, higher definition sprites. And it's like, whoa, these look so cool. And I remember as a kid, like, I want to draw these.
Yeah.
So you just draw these cool sprites. And it's like the enemy sprites in Final Fantasy VI are just fantastic. I mean, even the player sprites are cute because they would have like very cartoony, goofy animations.
Yeah, like, I mean, I know there's obviously a lot of quality of life things that have improved over the years, but sometimes the old sprites and just simple movements are okay.
They're
Like,
so
they're fine.
yeah, they're so abstract that it kind of lends itself to a goofy story.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have, like, I think a good example of this is in Final Fantasy VII. That game is goofy as hell too. But even looking at the original, it looks goofy because Cloud looks like Popeye, right? And all these little goofy low-res polygon dudes just...
Maybe these companies that do remakes need to focus more on quality of updates with whether UI or mechanics or movement or what have you, and just let the graphics be what they were, because even now people are making D-makes.
It's tough because, like, on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, seeing the world of Final Fantasy VII remade in high definition in the remake is really cool.
Do you think maybe they should do something almost kind of like how the Rugrats video game did, where you can choose if you do the old version or the new version?
Oh, I don't think that would work for a game like that.
Well, not for big games, but...
I don't know what the proper answer is. I think for the most part, the remakes are really cool, but the thing that doesn't come across very well is some of the goofy humor. Because when a cartoon character is saying all this dumb stuff and bouncing around the screen, it's just haha funny. But when, like, a more realistic looking Yuffie is doing all this goofy anime stuff,
it's kind of cringy.
yeah. And I don't know why our minds, like, read the same, like, dialogue as cringy versus funny depending on the look of the characters, but it is something that happens. And
I'm assuming, at least with the realistic characters, is that it's probably going to come down to, like, the Uncanny Valley issue.
maybe because, like, when it's a cartoon, like, oh, of course this cartoon anime character is going to do silly crazy stuff because it's just a cartoon. But when it looks like, oh, this is a person I could see in real life, when they're doing, like, all these anime movements,
I'm going to step back and leave them alone.
it's kind of like the Naruto run, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Let's think about the Naruto run for a second here. When you see an anime character in an anime doing the Naruto run, it's
just
like,
like,
oh,
whatever.
okay, cool, whatever. This is interesting. When you see a real life person doing the Naruto run, it looks fucking dumb. There is, like, a disconnect there. And, like, it can happen in games too when the games start looking too realistic, but they're still doing their crazy anime stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, why did I even start talking about Final Fantasy?
I don't know, something about remakes in the news.
Oh,
I guess.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, the Front Mission 3 remake. Wow, suddenly back on that. Instead of playing Front Mission 3, the remake, I would probably just go back and play the original.
That's fair.
And if you want a new looking Front Mission game, just play that game I talked about a few podcasts ago. Was it Krieg's Front Tactics? Because they did a really good job, unlike this remake, sadly.
And if you want a really quick and adorable game, play Toem.
Especially if you got it free on Epic. You guys gotta, if you're on PC, just, yeah, make sure to check Epic every week, because sometimes you get really good games on there. Even Death Stranding was free on Epic at some point. That's crazy. That game is amazing.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, for what little... I know I didn't probably get, like, halfway through, but
Yeah, you
what I
didn't
did
finish
play, it was good.
Oh my god, it gets even better towards the end. When I found, like, the twist with everything, I was like, whoa. And it's just, Kojima is fucking crazy, but he does good work.
He's famous probably for a reason. A good reason. Mostly good reason.
I'm excited about Death Stranding too. When that comes out, it's gonna be hard to resist buying it, but we'll see. There's a few games I thought I was going to do that with Dragon's Dogma, to be honest with you, but I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2 yet. Anyway, we should probably wrap up. We're rambling about all sorts of random crap now.
Yeah.
This episode has been a mess. I'm sorry. We've been all over the place.
I tried writing notes and it didn't make a difference, so whatever.
Think of it as part of the romp and GameRomp. We're just...
all over the place. They're just jumping around.
This discussion is like two fish flopping on the floor.
Oh god, why are we dying? Are we Magikarp? Can I be a pretty Magikarp?
No, I'm sorry.
You bastard. Okay, fine. Maybe next week we'll do better at this. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.
Bye.